is really exciting. So as many of you might know, I've done now 162 conversations over many, many years that I put into my newsletter each month. Well, this is the first time I'm going to be videoing it, and I thought really long and hard about who I would want to do that with. And I have picked the fabulous Felix Barnett. So the reason I've picked Felix is Felix used to work with me. I met him when he was a student and got him into his first sort of position, which we're going to hear about today. And I've got a lot of questions I want to ask Felix, and he's also the head of a really cool organisation for young creatives too. So what better place to start? I've got a list of questions here that I may ask, or we might just ad-lib. But welcome, Felix Barnett.
Thank you.
You're my very first.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I know, I'm very excited about it. So tell us the Felix Barnett story, darling.
So I trained as a designer at Swinburne, so I did the communication design honours degree. And as part of that, there's an industry placement component. And I was lucky enough to get an industry placement working with Sally, and that kind of came about from being two things, from being in the right place at the right time and talking to the right people. I had seen that Sally was running a folio discussion about how to improve your folio during the Easter break, I think it was. And I was like, well, I'm trying to get a placement. I should probably go and review my folio with her, see what she has to say. And she did this fantastic presentation all about what to include and what not to include. And at the end said, hey, if anyone wants to come up and say hi, I know only one or two of you will, but please do.
And there was about, what, 80 in the...
Oh, yeah.
At least.
A massive auditorium.
Yeah, and you know that. You know, only the hungry ones want to come through,
yeah.
Right? So I didn't mind doing it. I would have been shocked if 80 had come up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, I think maybe the only one who came up afterwards and just said, hey, Sally, you're a creative recruiter. You could probably maybe help me try and find a placement. And it just so happened that in the following months, you had a position for a junior designer and that I could do my placement with Sally.
But you'd also met a designer, hadn't you?
Yeah. So I'd done a day...
This is the communication thing I love.
I'd done a day with PJ, who's a designer at a industrial tools manufacturing company, and he said, hey, you should get in touch with Sally. I used to go to school with her.
High school.
Yeah, so I mentioned that to you when I met you. And then, I don't know, that must have started.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing, and that's what I'm wanting to talk about all the time with working with creatives. It is so much about, we're in a world of communication, so it's all about conversation. And if you know someone that knows someone, there's also that extra little bit of familiarity that people really love as well, and there's that confidence that you have.
It's all about knowing people.
And I love the fact that you are now working in advertising. So let's talk about when you were working with me. Well, I'm going to talk about it actually.
Okay.
It's all about me at the moment. What I loved about Felix was when he was working with me, he was a real ideas guy. So he was a really talented graphic designer, but we also spent a bit of time together in COVID.
Yeah.
And he was super organised, and he created a style guide, and he put we called it the Bible, but it was a list of all of my, he actually just got me organised, all of my passwords and all of my everything that I possibly could need, and he sorted out.
Redid the website.
We really had I had a fun time.
Yeah, no, it was great.
He lived around the corner from me at the time, so I would drop things off and we'd sort of wave at each other, and then I'd drive away, and it was all pretty clandestine. But we got to know each other pretty well, and I loved his mind. He was a very clear thinker, but he was an ideas guy, and you were never, I should talk about you were never afraid of saying what you thought.
No.
And I think that was really, gave me a lot of confidence, but also if it wasn't quite right, you didn't take it to heart. You went, yeah, fair enough, I still think it's a good idea, but I see where you're going, and you'd acknowledge those things.
Yeah, I think you put a lot of trust in me, which I greatly appreciated, but we were having business discussions with your business advisors, and I'm like, I'm in uni, what am I doing here? But you really valued my opinion on things.
I did, because you know why? And look what's happened now. You are, and as is Shani, who works with me now, and Pam and all the people before that, you know, you're the future of the industry, right? So I really value what you have to say and what you were thinking, but you were always that ideas guy. And we got to a point in our working relationship where we came out of COVID and you needed to find more internship work. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Another internship. And I spoke to Scott Bundy and said
Yeah.
to him, I've got this designer and he should be in advertising. He's
Yeah.
an ideas guy.
You
So
really,
what happened then?
You really saw that in me, that I'm probably, I'm an art director now, and I was leaning that way, I guess, but just didn't know it. But you saw it in me, and then Scott saw it in me. So yeah, I started doing an internship here at the Bundy agency as a designer, but Scott was giving me, here's a creative brief, here's a bit more of an ideas approach. And at the end of that, he was like, you should really do award school, which is the advertising course run by the advertising industry, 12-week course. Highly recommend it for coming up with ideas.
And can you just explain to those that don't know about it, like how do you apply for that? And
so the application's pretty ruthless, I'd say. You have to actually, they send out, I think, 4 briefs that you have to respond to just in pencil and paper sketches. And from that, they select who gets to get into the course. And yeah, from there, each week you get another brief. They just want hand-drawn, just the ideas.
it's just about the ideas, isn't it? It doesn't matter how
Yeah,
talented
it's not about the
craft
polish.
or
It's not about the
or-
craft. But yeah, really, really great course. And I actually, when I was applying for award school, I asked Scott, hey, could you look over my folio? Could you look over my application? And I came in and he's like, yeah, application's great, that's good. We're looking for a designer, someone like you, Felix. And it took me about 2-3 minutes, way too long to realize, hang on, I'm like me. And he was offering me a job.
Yeah,
so,
he was offering you a job, but you were away in the northern beaches of Sydney
Yes.
with me trying to ring you. And Scott's going, do you think he's interested? And you're going, I just really need a break. I just really need to think about it, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is like actually, again, understanding who he was and what he needed. And I said to Scott, yeah, he does want the job, but he's just studied forever. He's come from high school, he's done university, he's done internships. He needs time out, and you're up there with your family and your girlfriend and all that was going on. And I was laughing the whole time going, Felix, just say yes,
Yeah.
take the job. And then when you finally did answer the call, you went, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
Yeah, and a great decision because I've learnt so much here. It's amazing.
And I know this sounds kind of weird to young people, but more mature people that are listening to this will understand that many years ago, so in the 80s, we didn't have advertising courses, right? All the art directors and creative directors that are probably 50 plus probably trained as graphic designers, whereas now we have advertising courses and content creation courses and public relations courses and blah, blah. So you kind of went the old school path of doing graphic design and then turning into working in an ad agency, which is quite different.
Yeah, totally.
And
but I'm
talk
glad
about
for that path
Yeah.
because I think my skill set really supports how I can communicate ideas. Knowing how to design helps and elevates my art direction skills.
Yeah.
And I think if I'd done advertising as a course, which I hadn't really considered at all at the time. I didn't really think of advertising as a career till maybe 3rd year uni. I was like, actually, there's some briefs here that are a bit more advertising and I really like them. But yeah, I definitely don't regret doing design.
No, because you've got those skills that many older creatives who studied design and became art directors don't have, or
Yeah.
they had to learn
Yeah.
along the way. So advertising is all about ideas and idea generation. And I remember when you started working with me, you were really into the theatre and you used to do posters.
Yes,
And that's
yeah.
really where I first saw it, was that idea of watching a movie or I think it was live theatre actually,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah.
And doing posters.
Yeah, I
and
was
coming
doing
up with concepts and ideas.
Posters for uni musicals and comedy shows.
Yeah, and then where you work now, it's the Bundy agency, is like the whole wall in there is full of movie
Yeah,
posters.
covered in movie posters, yeah.
And so it was this natural thing, because one of my special skills is being able to connect the right people. And I knew that Scott would really get into the fact that you were into theatre and all of those sorts of things as well. One of the questions I got here, which I think is a really good question, because I wrote it. What's been the most unexpected lesson you've learned so far in your career?
It's not really a lesson, but it broadens out to a lesson. But when making a TV ad, a 60-second cut, wow, it's great. But then you cut it down to 45 seconds. Oh, it's even better. 30 seconds, even better. 15 seconds, often the best version of a TVC ad. And I found that really surprising because you'd think, oh, well, you've got more time in an ad to play with it. But no, when you narrow down the message, it's far more effective and far more entertaining often.
How advertising of you.
Yeah, but I think the lesson there, and I've seen it across everything else, like even making a presentation deck, for instance, my first draft's normally way too long. But from the first draft, you pick out the bits that are interesting, the bits that resonate, and you refine it down to something that's really strong. So I guess the lesson being kind of get everything out there, get all your ideas out there, and then refine to something really pointy. That wasn't something that I was thinking about before entering this industry.
Shit, do you think we're going to have to do that with this interview because it's going on for a really long
Yeah,
time?
absolutely.
Okay. And do you know what I relate it to? Yeah, that's great, and I love that has been a really cool lesson for you to learn. For me, I'm thinking packing a suitcase. Right? I think I need all these clothes, start at there, and then you pull them out, and then you pull them out, and you pull them out, and you end up with, 2 dresses, not 45, and life's going to be better.
Yeah, and it's great.
My next question here, and I think I know the answer to this, which will lead on really nicely to what you've just talked about. What work are you most proud of so far, and why?
I think the TAC ad that I did, To Die For.
And won serious awards.
Yeah, so it was a competition that I entered that I won, and just with a script for the anti-drink driving ad. And I was lucky enough to I kind of dove headfirst into production, working with like Sweet Shop. I was lucky enough to do the treatment and then do the location scouting and the casting. And by shoot day, I was directing it, which wasn't the original plan, but I think just my hunger for it, they allowed me to do that. And I'm really proud of it because I think wow, that's my work. There was an amazing team on it, but it was my script and I directed it.
And was that through Scott?
No.
No, it was completely independent.
Completely independent competition. Run by the TAC and Taboo agency.
Yeah. Did you enter that as a student or as a young creative in industry?
So I'd been working at Bundy Agency maybe 3 months.
Right.
And I'd just finished awards school.
Yep.
And I didn't get anything on the wall, which at awards school is, hey, these were the best executions of the brief. None of my work was one of the best. And that really bummed me because I was like, I feel like I can do this. It's just not coming through in my work yet. And so the week after graduation, or like the day after, I saw a Facebook ad for this competition.
Great.
That just extended the deadline by a week. I'm like, I could work on it this weekend. I'm doing nothing else. And so, I just, again, dove into it.
And that's that tenacity that I was talking about right from the beginning that you have, is that hunger and that passion, but also that ability to kind of try new things all the time. Like not just be happy with, like, I've got these skill sets and this is what I'm going to do. It's just like, let's go. Yeah, I've got a weekend free, bugger it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, so proud of you. I remember turning the telly on one night. You're on the bloody news.
Yeah.
Remember that?
No, I was on Channel 10. I interviewed on Sunrise,
It
on
was your 5
radio.
minutes of
Yeah,
fame.
it was cool. It was very fun.
It was very cool, and you should be really proud of it. It is, for those of you that haven't seen it, I will be posting it, if you can send me a link to it, if we've still got it.
Yeah.
And it was about the young guy in the bar, right?
Yeah, how to make the car crash cocktail was the premise.
Yeah, fantastic. And had you thought about that sort of thing before? Had you been walking along thinking, gee, this would be kind of a cool ad?
No, it's something in uni that we did a lot of briefs around road safety and alcohol advertising.
That's right, yeah.
And this was kind of a mesh of both. So it was a world I was kind of familiar with, but we were still coming out of COVID, and the idea really came from, I keep watching these like cooking tutorials, these cocktail tutorials. It's really popular at the time. And I thought, it was just such a simple idea, but it's like, can we use that as an analogy?
And isn't that often the way, the simplest, which is what you've
Yeah,
been talking
exactly.
about, is the best? Pare it back and pare it back. Tell us about Youngbloods. What is Youngbloods and what is your involvement in them now?
Yeah, so I'm one of the Vic co-chairs at Youngbloods. Youngbloods is an organisation for young people in advertising. And when we say young people, that's not by age, it's kind of the first 5 years of your experience in the industry, or even before, maybe you're at uni. And we try and kind of champion young people's voices through content online. And we do a lot of events, catch up, meet people in the industry. You never know who you need to know. So it's really good mixing with different people.
You need to know me.
Exactly.
It's fantastic, Felix, and it's great to not just be part of the Youngbloods, but to actually want to lead the Victorian chapter as well. And I think, again, that shows your want to just continue to build your career. And Scott Bundy, whose agency we're in today, I'm here. He's not here at the moment, so I've taken over his studio. Oh well. He, like me, also has a very good eye for good young talent, and he has trained some really amazing people in the past that have gone on to do great things. And you're the next one, kiddo.
He's hoping, yeah.
Kiddo, okay. So my last question to you today is, looking back, was there a piece of advice you received early in your career that really stuck with you that you can pass on to any young people that are coming through? And young, again, meaning new to the industry.
I have some advice. It's not a specific person, because many people have said this to me in various different forms, but it essentially boils down to kill your babies, which means don't be afraid to cull your own ideas. You've worked hard on this idea. If it's not right, it's not right. You just got to move on. It's been echoed by many people. Scott, my ward school tutors, the ward school head at the time.
And that's actually the expression, kill your babies.
Yeah,
Like,
kill your babies.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but the whole thing, and I think particularly in advertising, but in any industry, is you're coming up with all these ideas. They're not all going to be right. And just because someone says, hey, that's not right, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad creative. It might mean that idea is not right, but they still have the trust in me that I could come up with the good idea further down the line. So I think it's trying to remove yourself from the work, not to a point where you don't care, but to a point where you can go, actually, that isn't right. Or actually, I'm not personally hurt by the critiques of the work.
I was just about to say that. Is that right up there with don't take it personally?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, people say that to me sometimes, and I say, what do you reckon I say? I go, no, I do take it personally. I know, because I love what I do and I put my heart and soul into it. So when somebody says something, and so I've worked on that over the years, but I hear what you're saying. You know, I do listen to people, and constructive criticism is great, but when people say, I'm not going to go down that path.
Well, the other half of that is
So,
that if you do think it is the right idea, you got to fight for it.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah, I'm a fighter. Well, Felix, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening. Share this, get in touch if you want to. Felix, I'm putting that out there. Felix is around if you want to.
Yeah, add me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, add him on LinkedIn. And I'm also around too if you want to get a job or have a coaching session or whatever it might be. Thank you. It's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kiss. Mwah. Bye.